Hey, it's Lauren with Bargain Bead Box, and today we are going to be using Coreana chain to make a beaded strawberry quartz necklace. So we'll be using the August Peach Sorbet Bargain Bead Box. The items that I'm using from the box are the lobster claw clasps, the clamshell bead tips and crimp beads, the brass veil beads, Coreana chain, and then our strawberry quartz pendant, chips, and freshwater shell beads. So I know that Coreana chain is kind of a different material. We've never sent it before, but I really like working with it. The only things that I'm adding that weren't in the box are some jump rings. These are ring 136 at the Bead Box Bargain sister store, and some little gold spacer beads. Now you can use any kind of little spacer beads that you want. You can use seed beads. I like these Space 1569 because I think they match the chain well. I just like mixing up the size and having some smaller beads in there. So this is what we're going to be working with today. So let's get started. All right, so I've got my Coreana chain. The first thing I'm going to do is cut it. So I am going to cut about, I'll use close to half of it. Say about 18 inches-ish, maybe a little less. Yeah, I'll cut it there. Coreana chain's really easy to cut. Cuts super nice, just like that. All right, so we've got our chain. Now, I'm gonna work from the middle outward because that helps me make sure I'm keeping things even. So I'm going to start with our pendant and get that out here. And I'm going to put it on one of these little bail beads using a jump ring. So here's my bail, here's my jump ring. I'll dump a couple out so you don't have to listen to this bag again. Here we go. Well, we won't need that many, but we'll use probably 2 more. All right. Oh, I forgot my jump ring. Okay, sorry about that. Got my little jump ring here. It just helps me out with jump rings. Helps keep my wrists happy. I deal with tendonitis. Yay. All right, so we're just going to open that up, put on the quartz pendant and our little bail here by the loop. And now I'm going to swing the jump ring shut. Like so. Beautiful. Okay. So here we go. Now all we have to do is slide the hole in that bail right onto our chain. Little tube bails are just quality of life pieces for me. They just add that extra little bit of polish and professionalism versus just using a jump ring. Plus that way, you know, you get it hanging straight on here. I just really like them. And these are nice 18 karat gold plated pieces. So they look really good too. Okay, I'm gonna dump some beads out and we will start beading this necklace. Okay, so I'm going to start by putting a spacer bead on either side of my bail here in the center. It just kind of helps it nestle in there a bit and adds a little more gold to the center of our piece. And at this point, I'm not being super careful with where the beads are landing on the string or the wire because we are about to crimp this. So next, I'm going to do a shell on either side. I like these little 5mm shell beads, and I like the brown patterning in them too. I think that's very cute. Then we will do another spacer bead. After that, we're going to do 5 strawberry quartz chips on either side. Now, when I am doing these, I like to pick a smaller chip for the first and last bead in my set of 5, and I also like to vary the colors that I use. I want there to be a little bit of the darker raspberry in each and some of the lighter ones. It's just something to think about. You want to have the illusion of, you know, you don't want it to be like perfect matchy-matchy. The illusion of randomness, but you can tweak it a little bit. All right, so I'm going to end with a bit of a smaller chip on this side. There we go, beautiful. And while I'm on this side, I'm just going to go ahead and do another spacer, shell, spacer combo, followed by a crimp bead, which I'm not going to crimp quite yet. I'm going to finish beading both sides first so that I can be sure it's nice and in the middle when I do go to crimp. All right, okay, so that side is finished. If I can untwist it, there we are. Just gonna let it untwist itself. There it is. Okay, now I'm just gonna do the same thing on this side. Start with kind of a smaller chip. I like that one. Do some larger chips in the middle. I think I'm gonna do my fourth one on this side, maybe my third one. A darker pink. Every strand of chips is gonna be different, so don't stress about it too much. It's just a rule of thumb that I use when I'm looking at this kind of thing. No, that one's too big. I don't like it. It's sticking out. You're banished. Okay, next one. Threw it on the ground. Okay, there we go. And we'll end with a smaller chip. Trying to make sure these are similar lengths. They're chips. They're not going to be perfectly equal. This one might be a little thicker and longer, but it'll be okay. I am not a perfectionist all the time. Alright. My wrist doesn't love working with tiny beads. That's why I always really admire people who work with seed beads. Y'all make some truly, truly, absolutely incredible things. And I am at once slightly envious, and also I know my wrists would never forgive me for the attempt. So that's why I'm more of a stringer than a weaver, but I respect the weaving. Absolutely. Okay, so now I'm just going to kind of grab the ends and get this in the middle. At this point, if it's not perfectly in the middle, it's okay. You can trim towards the end of things, but as close as you can get is nice. And this will be the least forgiving of your crimps. I'm sorry, the most forgiving of your crimps, because like I said, you can trim the ends. From here on out, you're going to have to work to line things up a little more. But I'm going to use a double crimper, or a crimping plier. And I'm going to do a two-step crimp where the first bit kind of squashes it into a half moon shape, and the second bit folds that half moon in half again. Now, if you're not entirely certain it's secure, you can give it a little extra squeeze with some needle nose pliers, but honestly, these do a good job. And that way you get a smaller, neatly folded crimp. That just looks a little nicer. And if you don't like it, you can always use crimp covers as well. I just find that when I fold them successfully, they tend to look nice enough that I don't need to do that. What is it with this angle? What have I done here? It's running away from me. There we go. Okay. All right, and that's all there is to that centerpiece. Now we're going to do the beaded accents. I'm wishing I'd done thicker chips on this side and balanced it out, but it's too late now, so on we go. All right. I'm going to leave a little bit of bare chain, and then I'm going to do our next grouping of beads, which is going to be the same pattern I used here at this point. We're going to get a little bit smaller as we go further out, but for now I'm going to string a crimp bead on first. It's very important to remember your crimp bead. And then I'm going to do spacer, shell, spacer, and then 5 more chips. Here we go. And again, we're going to start with a smaller chip. Then do 3 more in the middle. And I'm going to try to put a darker one in there as number 4. And then do a smaller 5th chip. Okay, and now I'm going to do the round and the shell and the round again, followed by another crimp bead. All right. And you can do so many different things with Coreana chain. I think I'm going to try to make a multi-strand piece with it next and kind of like work it in with some links, some of those shell links and marquee links. It's just a fun material to work with. Okay, now here's the point where if you're a measurement type person, you can decide what kind of distance you want and measure it out. If you like to live your life on the edge, like I do, you can just eyeball it and see. I'm going to go for about 1.5 to 2 inches, maybe. Just kind of see what I think looks nice. Yeah. And how much I have left to fill too. I think that's good. All right. I'm going to try to hold my first crimp or my next crimp bead in place as I get it in the middle, or rather the first notch there on the crimping pliers. Make it into a little C shape and then come over here and fold that C shape in half. All right, that came out pretty nice. It looks like a little pillow now. It's cute. Okay, and now I'm going to do the same thing on the top. And one note, when you're crimping this wire, you don't have to hold it like so tight that you can't move the beads. I don't like that. I want to give it just a tiny bit of room to move. Not so much that it'll slide around like crazy, but enough that it can shift naturally and have a little bit of movement to it. I don't want it to be so tight that the beads are all like sticking up against each other. All right, so now I'm just going to copy that pattern here on this end. And then we get to the tricky part, which is trying to be as even as possible with our crimps. Okay. Oh, almost forgot my... So crimp bead first, followed by a spacer. The crimp is not, in fact, the spacer here. I mean, it is. It does space things out, but you know what I mean. Yes. So I like it when I catch pattern error before I've strung a lot of other things. It's nice when my brain can correct itself early on in the pattern. Sometimes I get all the way done and I'm like, I really did that. Okay. But my brain is trying its best. Okay. Third one. Fourth one. And then I will end with a smaller one. A thin one, I think, because these are pretty thin. Here we go. Is that going to be about even? I may actually do a thinner one in the middle. You do not have to be this exacting with your chips. You can also totally just go with the flow and let it be what it'll be. Some days I'm good at living my life that way. Other days I restring chips because I don't like the chip that I chose compared to the other chips. Okay, here we go. Looks good. All right, now we're going to do another spacer bead followed by a shell and another spacer. So Lynn's birthday is coming up and I asked her what she wants. She told me a kitten, which would be great if we didn't already have 2 cats, one of whom is very much her little shadow and follows her around. She's like, yeah, but his name is Sunspot. Sunspot needs a buddy because our other cat, Newton, is really mean to well, he's not mean, he's just grumpy. Sunspot's a cuddle bug and, you know, would love to snuggle up at nap time, and Newton is grouchy and it's a little too spicy for that, you know. He's just like, that would be showing weakness, which she does not do. So Lynn is campaigning that Sunspot needs a kitten friend, and I love cats, I love kittens. I think 2 is my limit, but Sunspot is the best little buddy for her. He literally every morning meows outside her door at starting about 6, because that's when she usually gets up for school. And if she doesn't let him in, she's not up yet, he goes and meows outside our door, but he doesn't want to come in our room. He wants us to follow him upstairs and let him in her room. We would let him sleep in there, except that he likes to decide 3 a.m. is playtime and tries to wake her up to play with him. So, like, by gently batting her face, which is endearing, but, you know, it's 3 a.m., so. But he gets in at 6, and he loves her so much there, and she loves him. She is obsessed with her sunspot. All right. And it's constantly reminding us that he's her cat. So here we have, I'm trying to line this up nicely. Trying to make sure these will be fairly even. I think this looks pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and crimp it. I don't know why I have nerves right now. It's like this is a big step. All right, I'm just going to fold that in half. There we go. Okay, I think I did all right. Those look pretty even. Yeah. I don't hate it enough to redo the whole thing, so I'm gonna keep it. Oh. Yeah, but her argument now is we have 3 goats. Why don't we have 3 cats? And because that's a lot of animals in our house. The goats are out of our house, but you know, we'll see. Okay. There we go. Okay, now I'm going to do a slightly smaller segment a little further up the chain. So again, as always, I'm going to start with a crimp bead, and I will follow it with a shell bead. But this time, well, maybe I'll do a spacer first and then the shell bead. Yeah, this time I'm not going to do a spacer on the other side of the shell. I'm just going to do 3 chips. I'm just going to kind of shorten the pattern since we're getting further up the chain. We'll do 3 chips. 1, 2, 3. And a shell bead, and then another spacer. Then I'll do another crimp here. Yeah. So I am going to look at trying to get about the same distance here. So I'm going to go a little further. Want this to be about the same distance as that. And again, I could get a measuring tape or a little ruler and measure it, but that is not the way I live my life. Are you a measuring person or an eyeballer? I'm curious because some in my family, some of my siblings are very much the measure twice, cut once type, you know, like just if you mark everything the first time, you won't have to do it again. And then some of us, I feel like more of us, more than, it'll be fine. And in some areas of my life that stresses me out. But beading is not one of them. Beading is my chill place. So if I am hanging like a picture or something, I am very much all right, hold it up, mark on the wall, you know, with a pencil or whatever. We're going to make this straight. We're going to get this right. And I feel that way about jewelry too. I want it to be good. It's just, I don't know. Maybe I'm more confident with jewelry. Maybe I'm lazier. But here we go. That looks good. It just isn't the way that I make it. And I'm not saying that's a good thing, but it's just my style. I'm a little more relaxed, I guess, when it comes to jewelry. Now, if I was making it like as a commission for somebody or something, which I used to do sometimes, I would definitely measure, because then I worry a lot more. But if it's just for me and I feel like a little bit of character isn't going to make me dislike it, then I am a lot less worried. But yeah, okay, I'm not going to do the dark one first because I did that on my other pattern. And sometimes I do things like this where, again, I'm like, nope, not that chip bead, the other chip bead. And does it really matter? It matters to me, so that's what I'm going to do. Here we go. Okay. Another shell bead, another spacer, and finally another crimp. Okay. And now once again, I'm going to straighten this out so I can pull my crimp up the chain to where I think it needs to be, a little tiny bit closer. Just a teeny tiny bit closer, I think. Yeah, like right there's a good target. The problem is then I have to pick it up and get it in the claw, the inner part of the crimp pliers. Okay, I think there. What do you think? Maybe a little. I need a live studio audience to be like, no, further, closer, tell me what to do. Like Price is Right here. That would definitely help me out. I didn't do too bad. Look at that. Alright. This one is much easier because it's not trying to run away from you. Okay. Here we go. And now you get to find out how closely you centered your original bit in the middle. And I did okay. It's not perfect, but that's all right. Okay, I'm going to do one more segment, but I'm literally just going to do, just going to be like a little decoration. It's just going to be a crimp, well, maybe a crimp, there we are, followed by a spacer, and then a shell, and then another spacer. I just don't like to leave a ton of empty chain at the bottom of a fancy design like this. So is this absolutely necessary? Definitely not, but will you even see it when you wear it? Maybe not, but you'll know it's there, and that's what counts. Maybe I left a little too much. I don't know. It's fine. This is fine. That's what we're going with. Okay. Here we go. Just crimp that side. Then squish my crimp. Make it a little C shape. And then squish that little C shape. Alright. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. And then we're going to finish it. And we'll show you, okay, good, this is the shorter side. I will show you my favorite way to finish Coreana chain. Which, if you've watched my other Coreana chain video, you probably already know. But it is nothing fancy. I just like to add a little extra something right before the clasp. Makes it easier to grip, I think. Okay, so I've got my crimp on there. I just need a crimp here. And here we go. Alright, so right about there. Alright. Middle. And I'm going to squish this down. There we are. It's hard to do without the beads escaping. Okay, so now I'm just going to do the other side. Get that bead right in the middle of the notch. And another tip, try to have the bead in the middle of the chain and not tilt, like pulled all the way to one side when you use your crimping pliers, especially the first step, because then it'll make a much more tidy, small folded shape when you fold it over, because you'll get some extra on both sides like you're supposed to. Okay, so now it's time to finish this. I'm going to trim just a tiny bit off here just to make them a little more even. And I'm going to string on a crimp, followed by 2 or 3 spacers. I think I'll do 2 because I don't have a ton of room left here. Followed by a clamshell bead tip, which we will then fold up and over our crimp bead. And followed by, finally, another crimp. So I'm going to crimp this kind of right at the end. Just give it a good squeeze and then fold it. Here we go. And sometimes, because this one doesn't have to be pretty, we're hiding it anyway, I'll give it an extra squeeze with my chain nose pliers just to make sure that it really isn't going anywhere. Yeah, it looks hideous, but we're never going to even see it. So we're going to fold this over, and some people like to put a dab of glue inside your clamshell bead tip, and you definitely can if you want, but it is not absolutely necessary because this is the 2-loop version. If you don't have 2 loops, if it's just a single loop, I absolutely recommend gluing it, but when you have 2 loops, the jump ring is going to kind of naturally hold it closed, which is why I like this version. Okay, and now we're going to bring those spacers and that crimp bead we strung on first up, and we're going to crimp them right up on the end. This is just to give it a little bit more of a finish to look at the end and give you something to grip onto when you are using your clasp. I like it. Now I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Crimp bead first, followed by a couple of spacers. And then, I can never get these spacers on. And then the clamshell bead tip. And then we go up through that bottom hole, and then we drop it, you know. Up through that bottom hole, as I was saying. And then the final crimp bead here. So here we go. Alright, I'm going to crimp it real close to that end there, squeeze it. I didn't do a great job of getting it in the middle there, you can see. It's okay. This one nobody has to know. Alright, that's not going anywhere. And now we just fold this up. I'm actually going to use my needle nose to adjust. There we go. And just try to get those nice and lined up. I'm not going to use the chain nose for that because I don't want to mark it up. There we go. Okay. And now all that's left to do here is crimp that last crimp. So again, we've got the center. Okay. I'm struggling with this angle. I'm just gonna, there we go. That's more comfy. 1 step and 2 step. 2-step crimping really does add a lot when you're working with Coreana chain. Again, if you want, you can always use those little C-shaped crimp covers, but I don't mind the way that the 2-step crimps look, and I think it works just fine as is. Okay, so now all we're going to do is add our clasp. So I'm just going to open the little jump ring out of space here, swing that out, put it through both loops of our clamshell tip there, and close it up. And then on this side, I'm just going to take a jump ring. And here's where, if you wanted to, you could either add a little bit of a more traditional chain or loop some jump rings together to make a little extender chain if you want. I'm just going to leave it at a simple loop here. And we're done. So we have a nice sort of graduated look where you have the bigger accents in the middle, smaller accents toward the back of the neck. And then I really like the way adding those extra spacers makes the end look. I think it looks a lot more polished and finished. And this piece is ready to wear. You could make some cute little earrings to match, like use some Coreana chain and put some chips or shells on them. But yeah, there's a lot of different things you could do here. Okay, so that's the basics of working with Coreana chain. You can, if you want, bead more of it. I like that it gives you the option of creating chain segments in between beaded segments very quickly and easily. I hope you enjoy working with it. If you are a Bargain Bead Box member, you'll have received the Peach Sorbet August collection for $22.99 with free shipping in the US. If you are not a member and you didn't get these beads, but you would like to purchase them, we do still have a few extras available at $29.99 at our sister store, beadboxbargains.com. We have sent out about 95% of the shipments at this point. 95% of our inventory, so we don't have a whole ton left. So if you're looking to grab one, you may want to do that sooner rather than later. However, we do still have some on the site. If you would like to become a Bargain Bead Box member and receive, starting in September, future boxes for just $22.99, you can sign up at our website, bargainbeadbox.com. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this was fun for you. I have a lot of fun working with Coreana chain. And yeah, I just appreciate you hanging out with me. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Happy Friday and happy beading.